I was really proud of our football team. I thought really came out and competed extremely well for 4 quarters. Very physical game, very defensive-oriented game on both sides of that, I think. I thought our defense really tackled well, probably, especially this, early in the season, probably the best I've seen us play from that standpoint, just coming out, really with just one scrimmage kind of underneath our belt that we didn't really go live in, but I thought we tackled extremely well, especially against, some really talented skill guys that Oklahoma State had. But, offensively, I thought we moved the ball. We did some good things. We just didn't do it consistently enough. We got to get our timing down, and we've got to be, more productive and eliminate some mistakes that we made. But obviously, we'll get back to work this week on it. As you look forward to Arkansas State, played Memphis really tooth and nail at Memphis, which is a tough place to go play, and then go up to Kansas State, get a big win. Blake Anderson and I are friends, and he does a tremendous job there. He and his staff, they've got really, really productive players and a lot of depth. And they go up to Kansas State, didn't even have all their starters with them, and still able to pull that off. So it's a big win for them and the Sun Belt. And, they've been for the last probably 10 years, been at the top of that conference every year, either playing for the championship or winning it. And so we know we've got our hands full going on the road to their place. It'll be a long trip for us, but we're looking forward to getting back on the field and having an opportunity to continue to grow as a football team and get better.
Questions?
With Zach only having, I guess he said 2 full practices to get ready for Oklahoma State, maybe just speak to the challenge that came with that and how much can be accomplished with, 2 or 3 full more practices this week to get up to speed and find that off.
Yeah, obviously it's going to be it'll be a better situation this week. Take nothing away from Oklahoma State. They are extremely good on defense. They got basically everybody back. They lost one corner, yet, they moved a safety that was a starter, had another guy that started a bunch of games and put him back there. So it's not just the 2 days, it's the 14 days that he didn't get to practice during that part of it too, So obviously getting a full week underneath his belt is going to help us offensively. I thought he came out and did some good things. He, played extremely well at times, and we as an offense, we just got to really start clicking on a better rate. I think we're potentially a much better offense than what we showed the other day, but we gotta get on the field and we got to make those things happen.
Coach Gundy mentioned yesterday that he thought his team was at like 75% of what they should be, just in terms of being in shape, cardio, that sort of thing. And he said they're really going to have to push them more during season than they have in the past. Are you in a similar boat where cardio-wise it's just not, what it would be if not for all the COVID stuff, and you have to change the way you do practice a little bit to push guys a little bit harder during the season?
Yeah, it's a really fine line, though, Caden, that you have to walk because, I can push them all week long and then, you're dead-legged by game time and you want to be fresh by game time. So it's that fine line that you got to walk. I agree with Coach Gundy from the stance of we're not in the type of shape we would normally be at this point. You got to remember you would have had at least 3 scrimmages. That probably would have been game 3. So at this point in time in the season, you're in a whole lot better condition than what we are right now. We're still pushing towards that. We had quite a few guys the other day that just, we played a bunch of guys because we needed to, and we've got to get in better shape. Some of that's going to come during games, and some of that we're going to try to manufacture practice-wise.
Coach, kind of piggybacking off that, you eased Corey into the game against OSU. I guess an update on him, kind of like a Zach Smith situation, more practices for him. Would that be better, I guess, for him going forward? Are you going to unleash him a little bit more, or is it going to be more of a committee in the backfield?
Well, we've always been committee in the backfield, but Corey will get more reps. Obviously, practice time this week will be much more productive for him. And then, plan on him playing a better or a bigger role as we continue to move forward. He's a talented back. He's a guy that that needs reps and needs practice. You know, just trying to do right by him last week, especially, and making sure that, you know, from a conditioning standpoint and all those, we were doing the right things with him. His safety is the number one key. And so this week I can see him being obviously much more involved in the game plan.
Philip, with your defense, you knew that you had some experienced players back, but you also had some, you know, key pieces to replace. Did you feel like there was a chance, though, for things to come together in the first game, despite the preseason disruptions and limited scrimmages and all of that?
You know, as we've talked about the defense kind of throughout the fall camp and kind of leading up to it, I really felt like I knew we had holes to fill, but I felt like we had key guys coming back, guys with a lot of experience coming back. And, you know, just watching them in practice, it's been really good give and take between both groups. And, you know, I knew that we were going to play well defensively. Now, I knew we were going to be really tested. And you're really concerned about the tackling aspect, especially the first game, because of what we've had to do in the stoppages and then what you're trying to do from practice to protect guys. And so I was really just overwhelmed with how well we tackled throughout. And it was game tackling, but it was also guys that, hey, it's a solo tackle that I'm out in space and I've got to make. There's nobody else with me, and we made those. So really, really pleased with that effort of our defense and our defensive coaches getting those guys ready.
When you have a performance like that against an offense like Oklahoma State, how much confidence do you think that can give them for the rest of the games?
Yeah, I think it's a tremendous building block for our defense. I mean, to step up and play as well as they did, we got pressure on the quarterback. We did really well versus the run. We were able to do some things from a coverage standpoint. And so all of those things, I think, allow us to build a lot of confidence defensively. Now we got to go match that offensively. And when we do that, we're going to be a really tough team to beat.
On the defense, Allie Green had just a real test out of the box and probably has another one coming this week. It seemed like he really relished that challenge, you know, and NFL scouts are like, this is a chance to make some money, you know, if we're being honest. It just talk about the way he took on the challenge of Tylan Wallace last week and then what he's got coming this week.
Yeah, I thought him and Caleb both, and really all of our corners, but I'm going to call out those two guys specifically. I thought they played extremely well. Both of them had opportunities to go against Wallace, and I think, you know, for the most part, you know, you're never going to keep Wallace completely in check. He's going to get some yards, but from a production standpoint, I thought we really did a nice job on him. And I thought those guys, they were physical. They played off at times. They changed up their looks. I think we were running stride for stride. You know, the one catch that he had kind of down the sideline, you know, we're physical with him at the line of scrimmage and just end up getting feet kind of tangled and we fall down. But, you know, those guys are both big, long, physical guys. They got experience and they love the challenge as they step up and play against different guys. And every week they're going to get challenged. You know, in our league, there's unbelievable receivers. Wallace is a great receiver. You look at it this week and, you know, you got Dahu Green on one side of it, who's 6'5". That's a different kind of guy that you got to go against. You know, Wallace is a smaller guy. He's 6'5", you know, 200-something pounds. And then on the other side, I think it's Adams. And he's 6'3" and 200 pounds. So it's going to be a different challenge for us this week. But those guys have been really, really productive. And we know we're going to have to step up and continue to get better.
You mentioned the one scrimmage a couple of times. Do you think that had anything to do with the 15 penalties? And then maybe if you could, I'm sure you know the two I'm thinking of in the third quarter, the timeout and delay of game out of that, and then in the red zone in the fourth quarter. Maybe take us through, now that you've been able to see it, what went on with those and how you fix that sort of thing.
Well, you know, as you break it down, we had a couple of penalties special teams wise. We had a handful of penalties defensively, and then we had our ones offensively. You know, the two delay of games, you know, one of those is coming out of a timeout, part of it. And to be real honest, with all the communication that goes on the field and the whistles and, you know, the whistle part of it is a major deal that we've got to work our way through, because you just can't hear them on the field. a couple of those holding penalties, some of those are, that's subject to the referee's discretion, right? And some of that is just guys playing really hard and maybe being a little bit overly aggressive. I don't want to take the aggression out of them when it comes to that. We got to be smarter in those situations. And then we had, the false start parts of it. A couple of those were really from a noise factor standpoint, just we were a little bit late in our snap on cadence wise. And those are things that we can obviously clean up and will clean up. So we've got some work to do, obviously. And some of that is game one. If you looked at, game ones across the board, I think you'd probably find a scenario very similar to that. But with that being said, it's not acceptable. We've got to continue to keep getting better at it. And that will obviously be a focus of this week.
Coach, break down the Arkansas run game. They had two players getting close to about 100 yards on the ground. What do you guys got to do to contain them so that they don't break free?
Yeah, the thing that Arkansas State does a great job of, and Oklahoma State does too, but, they mix it up pretty well. They've got a lot of RPO game within their offensive scheme. They do a good job of mixing those things in. They're playing a couple of different quarterbacks. They're playing a couple of different running backs. And so they're spreading the ball out amongst all of those guys. We've got to do another good job of just being assignment sound, being gap sound. We got to do a great job of tackling. And you've got to get on those guys before they really get enough juice to get going. So from that standpoint, we've got to continue to get better as far as our defensive line coming off the football, linebackers fitting, and then when those safeties are getting involved or the corners are getting involved in the run support, we just got to do a great job of getting there, wrapping up, and getting guys on the ground.
Anything else for Coach?
Yeah. In a lot of ways, it felt like a continuation of last season in that, some of the size and length that you've recruited just really showed, that this program, I think, has gone to a different place in terms of what it's capable of or the ceiling, who you can play with, those sorts of things. And all these good things happen, but in a loss. And so just how important is it to get on the other side of that, as soon as possible? Like this week is another opportunity for just a really quality win. The tough schedule continues, but you do have to, get over that hump, if you will. This is more of a big picture program thing that I'm sure, this isn't necessarily something you're addressing with players or whatever, but just how important is it for the program to take that next step?
Yeah, we definitely need to take the next step, right? And it's not good enough to be close, and it's not good enough to do this or that. I mean, we got to find wins, and like you said, and I appreciate you saying it. I mean, when you looked at on the field last weekend, our guys matched up pretty well. I think from a recruiting standpoint, we've done a good job of bringing in kids, developing kids, and continuing to raise the talent level of our program. Last year we had a couple of guys drafted. I think we'll have a couple more this year, and I think we'll have a couple more the year after that. And so those are positive signs in what we've been able to do from a recruiting standpoint. Now we've got to manufacture that and make those things turn into wins. And we're in an extremely tough conference. We know. I mean, you watch Central Florida the other night. If you take the logos off the jerseys, tell me which team's in the American and which team's in the ACC, because it was a pretty good win by Central Florida, in dominating fashion. So, what our conference is about. You look at an Arkansas State who has been at the top of the Sun Belt and gone to championships. They got unbelievable kids, a bunch of guys that have transferred in, very talented. And so it's going to be a great test for us. And now we got to go in and get it done. And, I feel like we have the kids to do it. Now we just got to go get on a roll, build some confidence, and really continue to grow as a team from that standpoint.
Zaven has some sort of national honors rolling in this week. Maybe speak to the next step he's taken. I don't know if you blitzed him more, if he was just, more effective, and if that's something you can do more of. And then also, I guess, where his conditioning's at, how closely do you have to watch him, or how many plays do you think he's available for on a week like this? Just update on where he is, physically.
It was a severe case of cramps, and we had a couple of guys in that situation. And with Zaven, again, he was coming off of kind of that quarantine deal too. And so his conditioning will continue to grow. It comes back faster, right? But you can lose it fast too. So he'll be in a better situation as we approach game 2 here. You got to remember with Zaven, he's a kid that played quarterback and played safety in high school. And so he's really only been playing linebacker for a couple of years now. And I think it's just the natural progression for him. I thought that's probably the best half of football I've seen him play. He was really all over the place, in the backfield, dropping into coverage, fitting things, tackling well. And so, we have high expectations for him, but we do for a lot of guys on our football team and for our units in particular. So it's all those guys working together, but, expect Zaven to continue to have those type of games as well as Jackson and Big Cat, and, Cullen and, Grant Sawyer came in and played well. Both of our corners played well. You look at Kendarian Ray, who, really has his first start at safety and, led our team in tackles with 11. So those guys have just got to continue to keep that same mantra about them and keep raising the level.
Coach, I know you'd rather play at home, but playing a team like Arkansas State, I believe they're like 68-17 at home. So it's, it's no easy place to play at. But knowing the fact that you don't have to travel clear cross country like we did last year with Michigan State and whatnot, does that give you a little bit advantage knowing that you don't have to go cross country to play this game?
Anytime you go on the road, I think it's difficult. And like you said, they play really well at home, and they're tough to be at home. And that's a tough place really to get to. There's no easy way. We're going to end up staying in Memphis the night before and then still get up and drive the rest of the way the next day. So it's a tough place to get to. It's a tough place to play. Their fans and their team play extremely well at home. And so we know we got our hands full when it comes to that part of it, but we're going to play tough road games all year long. We got to go to Florida twice. We got to go up to Navy. The list goes on. So this is going to be a great test for us here early. A team that's playing with a lot of confidence that just beat a Kansas State team. They've got tons of potential and talent. So we're going to have to really be prepared and play extremely well.
On Kendarian Ray, can you take us through how you recruited him? Just a little bit the backstory. I don't know if he was playing safety in high school or, and then just some of his progress, because he obviously is ready to blossom. That was, and he's the really high ceiling guy.
Yeah, he really is. And with Kendarian, and we just call him K-Ray, but he was a quarterback again in high school. Played very little defense at all, and but just was a really productive athlete. Played quarterback, played basketball, ran track, did all of those things. Multi-sport guy. We talked to him about coming and playing safety, and really wasn't heavily recruited, but had some other people on him besides us. But he's a guy that. When he got here, it took him a little bit to kind of get used to playing DB, kind of learning the position, learning how to really backpedal and do those things and be physical. And it just, over the course of a year, you could see him just dramatically changing. It felt like, every week. And, has made some big plays for us in the special teams in the years kind of prior to this, played some defensively and made big plays there, but never was the starter. And just felt like, this is his time, and has really stepped up. Last year he played the whole year hurt and still was productive. And, one of the toughest kids I've ever seen kind of go through some of the things he went through last year. And now after having a couple of surgeries and now feeling a whole lot more like himself, I think the ceiling is extremely high because of his length and speed and physicality.
What can you do defensively that's maybe a little bit different? You've had some, decent safety play over the last few years, but when you have an athlete like this back there, what does that allow you to do? How does it maybe make other guys back there better?
Yeah, and I think they do a great job of just playing off of each other. As you talk about our secondary, the corners, they're mainstay guys, right? They're guys that have a ton of experience, that have been through a ton of battles. They have a ton of confidence, and they're big, they're physical. And so that kind of anchors us in. And then as you look at the safeties, Cristian Williams, who's kind of been the staple for us for the last 3 years or so, has been our nickel and is very productive in the middle for us. And then you add Kendarian in, he's a guy with just so much length, and he can fit down into the box, and he could step down and play a linebacker type spot because of that. But he can also spin back and cover the deep third or a deep half of the field. And his length and speed allows him to do that. And then Ty Neal, I thought the other night, for a guy that has played some, ended up kind of battling through injuries last year as well, but I thought was very productive, had a great game versus some really talented people. And so, those guys kind of feeding off of each other, continuing to raise the bar, and Coach Buck and Coach Fletch have done a great job with all those guys, and Coach Olson back there with them, just getting them coached up and ready to play.
All right, guys, we've got the receiver Sam Crawford, and following Sam, we'll have nickel safety Cristian Williams. Questions for Sam?
Sam, how tough was it having Zach out for a couple of weeks, for the offense to try and find a rhythm as you were getting ready to, take on a really tough team in the season opener?
It's definitely a challenge, because quarterback receiver is all timing. So having him out for, about a week or so, I believe, you mess with that timing a little bit. Then you go to the new quarterback all week. You get that timing down with him, then Zach comes back. So, it's just it was a tough deal, but, it's something that we could work through.
Yeah, how much does having a full week, this week allow you to try and play catch up, if you will? How much can get accomplished in a week?
Oh, you get a lot accomplished in a week. And it's huge having him back for the full time, which is going to be great for us and our timing. So I expect next week to go much smoother in the passing game.
Sam, with Shamari going down, you guys out on the edge, you're probably going to be getting a lot more balls coming your way. So just heading into that with this week, how more excited are you for that?
It's definitely tough losing Shamari. He's a outstanding player, as everybody knows. But, what's up, great running backs backing him up. You got CT, you got Deneric, and others like TK who stepped up their game when Shamari went down. So it's great having them. On the outside for us, that just means we got to step up our game a little bit more. If we get more balls or less balls, if that's us blocking better for other running backs, we got to step up our game in all different aspects rather than just catching the ball.
Zach mentioned after the game that we're close offensively, and said we won't have another one like this. It maybe speak just a little bit more to how an offense finds its rhythm, and how do you know, when you're there, when the rhythm's been found, and you're ready to go out on a Saturday and have it be the best version of yourself.
After the game, you go back and watch the film, then there's so many plays we left out there to score some points, get points on the board, and we're close. We're inches away from scoring a touchdown or it's a PBU. So when we're close, that would mean we're close. Just another week of practice in that timing down is going to be extremely helpful. And, just it takes reps.
Is that frustrating to go back and watch that game and see points that, were left on the board, but also somewhat encouraging knowing that you aren't that far away?
It's definitely frustrating, but it's also a learning experience. You go back watch the film, then you learn from it. And, you can't dwell on it too long. You got to learn from it, get past it, and get better on it.
Well, you said it right there. You don't want to dwell on it, but is there one moment or what moment from that game, I guess, lack of a better phrase, it's cliche, I guess, kept you up at night? I guess, was it that false start on the goal line when you guys had that touchdown taken back? Or, I guess, like you said, you were very close, it seemed, at a lot of times. I guess what's been kind of, nagging at you as a part of that game as well? Oh, we almost had it there, but, it kind of came up short.
there's a few plays go back and watch the film, but I mean, like I just said, you can't dwell on it. It's disheartening losing points just like that. But I mean, even within the game, the flow of the game, you can't dwell on it. You got to learn from it and get past it.
With the play clock issues, I mean, I know you guys probably wanted to let that run down a little bit, maybe play a little keep away from OSU, but I guess the problems with getting the plays in and kind of having to go down to the last second every time, and of course a couple penalties, a couple wasted timeouts. I guess what can you guys do to address that problem, or has that been emphasis? I know it's only Tuesday, but have you guys talking about that issue at all?
Me and we definitely talked about it, but it's whole new dynamics with the mask on. The refs got the mask on, so it's hard to communicate on the field. Can't hear the refs, and the stuff like that. So we're gonna do a better job communicating that as a whole, and maybe with the refs we can get that communicated with them too, so we can fix these communication issues.
Sam, how hard is
For
it
you,
to hear
Sam?
that whistle?
Go ahead, Paul.
How hard is it to hear that whistle, Sam? Coach has mentioned that a couple of times.
It's definitely different. I mean, you play football for the past 15 years of your life, and it's the same whistle every time. Then hop on the field for the first time, and it's like an electric whistle. So it sounds different. It doesn't sound real. So, I mean, that's definitely something we have to adapt to, like this whole season. We got to adopt and adapt.
For you, last year was when you burst onto the scene, Sam. I guess I'm wondering, for you personally, what kind of expectations do you have for yourself this year, and in what ways, do you feel like you're a better receiver now, or tried to make yourself a better receiver?
For me, being a better receiver is not always stat-wise. It could be improving my blocking, being a better teammate, getting my other teammates open. So for me, I've worked on plenty of things this offseason, especially when I was at home when our time off. But, I mean, my biggest thing is being a better teammate, being a better leader, being more vocal, helping out the young guys. That's something I really emphasize this offseason because really I'm a quiet guy. I don't like to talk, or I'm more to myself. But this year I've been trying to, hop out of my shell a little bit.
Questions for Cristian?
Cristian, how much can a performance like that give you guys some confidence on defense moving into the rest of the year?
It gives us a lot of confidence, but I mean, we didn't get the win. So it is you just got to keep going, we got to get the win, and we can't make that game a confidence builder because we didn't get the dub. So I don't know how to say it. If we don't win, it doesn't mean anything to us. I don't know, the defense we did good, and offense we did good, special teams we did good, but getting the W is the number one goal. So if we don't get the W, it doesn't really mean anything for us, honestly.
Cristian, is part of that thinking, does it maybe go back to last year where you had quite a few of these, against a top 25 team? You were the underdog. You proved that you could play with them, but just couldn't quite finish it off. Are you guys just kind of tired of that?
Man, I'm extremely tired of, you can hear it in my voice. It's kind of nerve-wracking that, you go out and, you try as hard as you can and you don't really pull out the win, but we got the talent and we got the pieces to make it work. It's just we got to come together as a team and execute. And once we do that on all three phases, I mean, we're getting there. We're getting there for sure. And no doubt in my mind that, these games coming soon that we're gonna put these pieces together.
Just a general question about Arkansas State. What kind of challenges are they going to present to you? And I guess what kind of sticks out to you? Obviously, you don't want to give away what you're looking at too much, but just a little scouting report on what to expect from them.
Arkansas State, okay, they got a pretty good talented receiver, number 9. He's a pretty good athlete, and we've been watching him a lot. And kudos to them. Their offense is a good powerhouse offense, and just like we just played, we just got to go out and execute at a high level, at a very high level, in all three phases. We can't let down. We kind of get in a mode to we kind of go out in the second half and we don't really finish. So that's one thing we preaching in the locker room, and we making sure that we come out and we finish hard and we finish strong.
What do you think goes into that kind of coming out flat, like you said, in the second half? Is that I guess what you chalk that up to?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, we kind of probably go in the locker room and we get, lax a little bit, and that's what we have to come out and we have to let each other know, hey, we have 60 minutes, bro. We got 60 minutes to go. Don't go in the locker room. Don't go in the locker room and just chill. We got to think about the game. Think about what we're going to do next. they're going in and adjustments, we going in and adjust, and we just got to know, like, this game is for 60 minutes and not 30 minutes. It's a 60-minute football game.
Cristian, thinking about, the way Allie was fighting with Tylan Wallace and the way you guys were hanging in there, making some one-on-one tackles against Chuba Hubbard. I mean, those guys are like, they're playing at the next level without a doubt. And it seemed like it just kind of across the defense, you guys really were up for that challenge and accepted it. Now, Arkansas State's got, some talent that might play at the next level as well. How much do you guys get up for games like this, opponents like that, where, you can really show people, even scouts, if you will, like, we're as good as these guys?
Yeah, you mentioned Allie Green. I mean, we talk about it every day. As a defense, we go out and we just practice. We practice the plays that we see on film. We study the film. You have to study the film just to know, it's not all about just going out and playing football. You got to get in the locker room. You got to get in the film room. You have to really study. If you don't study your opponent, you don't know what they're doing. So that's the number one goal in football, to know what your opponent is doing. So with that being said, yeah, Allie do a lot of studying. I like that little matchup. We was waiting on to see how it was going to be, and they both gave a show to the fans, and I like it. Tylan Wallace was a great athlete, and I give it to him. And him and Allie, they both showed the fans that they're good, outstanding athletes.
Cristian, there was a lot of talk about the whistle and not hearing the whistle, the electronic whistle, that sort of thing. And during your medical situation, you got to blow a whistle as an assistant coach. So was there a couple of times during the game you wanted to take your Fox 40 whistle out there and toss it to one of the officials?
I actually still got my Fox 40 hanging up above my bed. I look at it every day and just thank God that I actually got this chance again. It was tough, coming back from football. Coming back from that injury and coming back to football thinking that it was all taken away. And it's just like, thank God, like, man. But, yeah, that Fox 40 whistle is a lot different than that electric whistle. I couldn't really hear it as much in the first quarter, but after that, like, I got used to it, and it kind of, like, sank in, like, okay, I can get used to this whistle. But, it was kind of tough for the first half.